There was a man, a bad man. There was a man, richest man in town. He had 3 wonderful fields, the best producing fields of all. He was rich, he was wealthy, but there was one thing he didn't have, and that was a wife. He decided he wanted to marry. So he went into town and he asked all the women, "Will you marry me?" And one of them said, "No, I will not. You're a miser. I won't marry you, for goodness sake. You want a servant." Another one said, "Oh, you can push off your tight. You're a miser. No one's going to marry you." So he went back to his farm and had a little think. "I'll make them want to marry me," he said. "I will become the richest man they've ever known." So he goes down to a local seed merchant and he said, "What seeds have you got? Expensive seeds. What seeds have you got that I can put in my fields?" "I've got corn, wonder corn seeds." "And what's so special about them?" "Well, the grains of the corn will be as big as grapes." "Big as grapes?" "Yeah. You'll make a fortune." "I'll have that," he said. So he took his money out, he had a bag of gold, and he said, "There, fill me with sacks of these seeds." And they did, and he took them home and he planted each seed perfectly in the ground, and he waited. And he waited and he waited, and then when the summer came, the corn was so high, and the little grains that normally came, they didn't show. He had grains bigger than grapes, almost as big as tangerines. And he thought, oh, tomorrow I'm going to harvest these, I'm going to cut them all down, and then I'll be rich. And those girls are going to want to marry me. So, the day before he was going to harvest, I'm going to enjoy myself, he thought. He got a deck chair, he put it outside his fields, and he watched them. He watched these fattening buds grow and grow and grow, and he thought, oh. And then suddenly he heard a noise, a sort of whooshing noise, and it was a local hurricane. It just came into his fields and blew them all away. He was ruined. What was he going to do? Oh, for goodness sake, I've lost all my... He went to his neighbour and he said, "Neighbour," "the wind blew all of my crops away." "Well, that's strange," said the neighbour. "They didn't blow mine away." "You've had some bad luck there, mate." He said, "What am I going to do?" I said, "Don't worry, mate. Don't worry. If I were you, I'd take all the stalks, dry them, put them in sacks, and then sell them as mattresses. Mattresses fit for the kings and queens of England." Oh, he said, "I'll do that." So he spent weeks and weeks and weeks getting all the corn, stuffing it into sacks, and then he took them all into town and said, "Buy my mattresses here. Mattresses fit for the kings and queens of England." Of course, everybody sort of swooped down into the market and started buying all these things. He didn't really have things that could belong to the king and queen, but now they had one. So he took all the money back and he counted it all up, and he went back to the seed merchant. He said, "A bit of bad luck. He said, "They had a local hurricane, blew all the corn. Have you got anything there a little bit cheaper, because I lost money on the last deal?" "Oh, tomatoes. I got wonder tomato seeds. The tomatoes will grow as big as grapefruits. Oh, I'll have those." So he put his money down and he had an enormous sack of tomato seeds, and off he went and he planted them. One by one by one. Took him weeks to do it. But then the tomatoes began to grow. They were enormous plants, and the tomato itself was small, and then bigger, and then it was the size of an orange, and then of a grapefruit. He thought, oh my goodness, beef tomatoes, big beef tomatoes. Oh, I'll pick them tomorrow. He said, I'm just going to relax, go with the flow. Had a little mug of cider, and he was having a little drink and dreaming of all the money he'd make, and then something tickling his foot. It was an earwig, a big fat earwig, and then there was a slug, and then a woodlouse, and suddenly the whole field was crawling with woody lice and earwigs and slugs, and they ate the lot. He was ruined. What was he going to do? He ran back to his neighbour and said, neighbour, I've got an infestation of earwigs and woody lice, and I'm ruined. No, he said, no, you're not ruined. Gather what's left of the tomatoes, chop them all up, and make spaghetti sauce out of them. No, that's the best thing, yeah. Fit for the kings and queens of England, what they have on their table with their... Right, he said, right, I'll do that. And he chopped up the rest of the tomatoes, put them in jars, went to town and said, buy my royal festival spaghetti bolognese tomato mix, fit for the royal kings and queens of England. Of course, everybody came, boom, boom, boom. And within 3 hours, the whole lot was sold. Of course, he didn't have as much money as when he started, so back to the seed merchant. You haven't got any wonder seeds that I could borrow? Borrow? Well, I've only got a little bit left. How much you got left? He said, I only got 1 bag of gold. I had 3 to start with, but I lost 2, didn't I? Right, peas. Wonder peas. I'll do you a deal. 1 bag of gold, it'll work. Honestly, it'll work. Right, he said, right. So he bought a big sack of these peas and he planted them, and lo and behold, they grew and they grew and they grew. He couldn't believe it. Each grain of corn was bigger than a grape. Ho, 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 ho. Tomorrow I'm going to harvest, he said. I'm going to harvest, and I'm going to harvest money coming in. He put his seat down, a little jug of cider, and he just watched it. And then suddenly, he heard a noise. Yabba, 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 yabba. Yabba, 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 yabba. And he looked up, and this enormous flock of starlings came, and suddenly they descended on the crop and went with their beaks and ate the whole lot. What am I going to do? What am I going to... Neighbour, he was... What is happening? I got a terrible infestation of earwigs and woody lice and all of that sort of thing, and now I've had the starlings come and eat everything. I'm ruined. What's happened to my luck? God only knows, said the mate. You've had a bad little session there, haven't you? I'm bankrupt. Can you help me? He said, no, I can't. Everything's gone. God only knows what's happened to your luck, mate. That's it. God, he knows. I'm going to find God. I'm going to ask him directly, what has happened to my luck? And off he went. He closed the doors, the windows, put a little knapsack on his back with some sandwiches, and off he walked. He walked and he walked and he walked until he came to a big forest. And he heard a noise in the forest. What on... And there it was, a clearing in the forest with the most enormous wolf you've ever seen. "Hello," said the wolf. "What are you doing here?" He said, "I'm off to see God, to see what's happened to my luck." "Oh," said the wolf, as he stood up. "When you see God, ask him, why am I always hungry?" The man walked backwards out of the forest and walked on. He walked and he walked and he walked until he came to a big mound, almost a hill. And on the top of the hill was a tree, a willow tree. Time for a break, he thought. Got his sandwiches out. Up the hill he went and sat under the tree. I said, "Who's that?" "It's me," said the tree. "You can talk?" "Yeah, I can talk." "Do you know what's happened to my luck?" "I don't know," said the tree. "Why are you on the top of this hill?" "Oh, hundreds of years ago, two kings fought, one killed the other, took all his treasure, buried it here, and everybody forgot about it. And then I grew on the top, and my roots have gone down and down and down into the soil, and it's taken all the water away. And that's why I'm moaning, because I'm thirsty. Can you ask the God, if that's what you really mean, if you ask God, can you ask him why I'm always thirsty?" "Yeah, I'll do that," he said. "Not a problem." So off he went. And he walked and he walked and he walked until he heard a strange little noise. He walked a bit further and he saw a big house. And in this house was a woman crying. He knocked on the door. "Hello," said the woman. "What are you crying for?" "I'm lonely," she said. "Lonely?" "Yeah, I've got a man in my life, and look, I've got this lovely house and this farm, and I've got quite a bit of money, but no one to marry. Can you ask God, why am I so lonely?" "Oh, well, you just told me you haven't got a man. You're a man, aren't you?" "Mm-hmm. No. Sorry, that's your luck, not mine. But I'll ask God why you're always lonely." "Thank you," she said. He closed the door. And slowly he walked away, and the wailing and the crying faded. And then he came to a place where there was nothing at all. Nothing. No front, no back, no sides. It was as if he was standing on the edge of the world. What was he going to do? "God!" he shouted. "God, what do you want?" said this voice. "Is that you, God? Well, you just called me, didn't you?" He said, "Right, God, I want to know where my luck's gone." "It's gone nowhere. You've always had luck. You've always had good luck." He said, "Look, when you started, you said, you had these wonderful fields when you squandered them. No woman would marry you, so you set out on this journey. And what did you see first? Wolf. And what did the wolf ask? He wanted to know why he was always hungry. When you see the wolf next, tell him he's eaten everything in the wood, and to eat the next thing that comes his way and then move on. Right. And then I saw a tree. Oh, the old willow tree, was it? Yes, he said. I said, he wants to know why he's always so thirsty. He said, because his roots have pushed down all the gold and silver into the stream bed below, and it's choked the stream. Hardly any water gets through. Tell you what, get someone to dig up all that gold and the silver and the jewels, and the water will start flowing again. That's what's going to happen. Tell the tree that. Right. Oh, and I met a woman. But she said she was lonely. Well, is that the woman with the beautiful house in the fields? Oh, yeah. And all she's got to do is find a man to complete her life and have a family and children and be happy forever after. You tell her that. And as for your luck, it's always there for you to find. Now go back. Right. So he goes back. The first thing he comes to is the house. Hang on, love, he said, I've sorted it all out. I asked God, and he said, you're crying because you're lonely and you need a man in your life. And she looked at him and said, well, you're a man. Why not marry me? No, that's your luck, love, not mine. I'm off to find my luck. So off he went, leaving there, crying on her own. And then he came to the tree. Did you ask God? Yeah, I've asked God, and there's a solution to your problem. I said, what's that? He said, well, I said, your roots have pushed all the gold and silver down into the stream bed, and there's hardly any water for you. Get someone to dig out the gold and the silver and the jewels, and then the water will flow again. You could dig that. No, I can't dig it. That's your luck, not mine. And he went his way. And in the end, he came to the forest. He did to the wolf. Oi, Wolfie! You back? He said, yeah. Did you ask God? Did you ask God why I was always hungry? Yes. What did he say? He said, well, God said that you to eat the first thing that comes into the forest.